Okay, so they're at it again. The housing stats come out and they are analyzed and I think misanalyzed by a lot of people. I want to tell you what happens. I want to tell you what I think it means and why I think many of the people who comment on this have it totally wrong. Here's what happened. It's now May 2018. The economy is booming. Consumer confidence is off the rails. Job confidence is off the rails. I mean, off the charts, positive. And home sales are down. The reason why home sales are down, there's only one reason, and that is there's so much demand that all the inventory is flying off the shelves. Okay? Home prices are up because of that same demand driving prices up. Now, the two negative spins that you'll hear out there, and there are people that think that when you look at housing stats, the objective is to figure out how to spin them negative and then put that out. Number one, there is a confusion a lot of people have when they see, okay, you have home sales. That's how many houses sell. That's what realtors care about. You have home prices, which is what people who own real estate should care about. And a lot of people are concerned that if home prices go up too much, that we are into an inevitable bubble. Okay? That, of course, the market's going to correct. So on those two things, for the last 80 years, since the Great Depression, 90 years now, there's only been one housing recession. And anybody who wants to tell me otherwise, show me your data, okay? There's only been one housing recession and it happened 10 years ago. We know the reason why it happened. It happened because of outrageously soft lending standards where you can put down no money, also have crappy credit, and also not prove how much you make. And when you take all three of those pillars out, you've got nothing but quicksand. Realtors will tell you that there was a housing crisis in the early 80s and there was a housing crisis in the early 90s. It's a crisis for people who get paid on home sales. The number of home sales declined several times. There are lots of cycles on that. It doesn't mean bad news for the housing market. It doesn't mean bad news for the economy. It means bad news for people who make their living on turnover. So yeah, in the 1980s, early 1980s, mortgage rates were up over 17%. People couldn't and weren't buying houses. The economy sucked overall. Confidence was low. And so people who make their living on home sales suffered. The real estate business declined, but home prices just went flat. Same thing in late 90s. Right now, you've got home sales down because the market is so hot as a pistol, which the idea that that could be spun as negative by realtors is insane. Second thing is this belief that, of course, we're heading into a recession because that's what always happens. That's only happened once. Home price declines has only happened once in 90 years. 90 years. Go to ownamerica.com, pick a portfolio, scroll down to see the price appreciation chart. It shows you a 20-year average. You can see calm times, volatile times, and recovery. So late 90s, calm. Early 2000s, booming home prices, late 2000s, declining home prices, and then back to the trend line. And what I'll tell you is that if you go to those markets, sorry, hazard of doing this in the car. You go to those charts, and if you start at the beginning of the 20-year curve, all right, and you draw a line and you just split the peak and the trough of the housing boom, housing correction, and then carry that line forward, you're going to see that most markets around the country are right at it. Some are below, which means there's upside, by my analysis, and some are above, which means there's caution. But they're not going to bounce down unless they're bouncing down for a short-term correction. The absence of mad lending practices is what is different. I used to be a loan officer, my first job out of college back in the 90s. Now, what's important about that is that in the 90s, you proved the income, you proved the down payment, that they were sinking in skin in the game. You proved how well they paid their past credit, and then you proved the value of the property. And if any of those things was going to give, the other ones had to be especially strong. So you want to put it down a small down payment, you have to prove every penny of your income according to rigorous standards. Right? You got shaky credit, better put down a big down payment, better prove your income. Right? It always worked that way. What happened in the 2000s is that they weakened all the pillars. No down payment, no proof of income, not necessarily great credit. That created funny money in the hands of people that were out driving prices up artificially. They weren't paying what the houses were worth. They were paying what the blank check in their pocket said they could afford. That one factor is what drove the prices up too high. So when you see things like home prices are up, the real estate market is tight, there's no inventory, equals we have a bubble and therefore a correction coming, You're missing the key ingredient. And it's like taking chicken out of chicken soup. It's not chicken soup. All right? So watch and read the analysis with a lot of caution. If you hear the cliches of course we're going to recession because we always do, it's not the case. And if you hear people, and especially, like, look, the economy is doing well right now. It's not supposed to be a political statement to admit that, okay? And to refuse to admit it is unfortunately a politically driven point of view. The only one thing that I'm actually concerned about is the fact that there is one artificial boost to the economy happening right now, and that is the massive tax cut. Corporations and individuals having more money in their pocket. And if at some point in the future that is taken away, that is going to cause a pinch. All right? And if corporations go hog wild with the millions and billions of additional cash they have now because of the tax cut, and that creates an artificial lift on things, that makes me a bit nervous. I can't exactly tell you how it could play out, but I can tell you there's an element of artificial boost in there. And so what I hope is the people in charge of government don't do what has been done every time that I've seen it in the past, which is when things are going good, they love it. They keep fanning the flame, keep fanning the flame, keep fanning the flame, and eventually it flames out. I'm hoping that, like when I see mortgage rates going up, hallelujah. That's brakes. That's good. Plenty of gas on the pedal right now, okay? Feathering the brake is good. Anyway, learn the housing stats, learn the housing data. Go to ownamerica.com and get fluent in these things, because you can get your confidence shaken by people who either aren't really sure what they're talking about or worse, have an agenda. Thanks for watching.